Welcome to Setting Dining Room Tables. In this video, you will learn how to read the paperwork to determine what is needed on the tables, set up a complete dining room table, and then how to set up an entire room of dining room tables. Everything begins with reading your paperwork. This includes your setup sheet and your diagram. Find the area in your setup sheet labeled Guest Seating. Moving from left to right across the page, the setup sheet tells you the size of tables being used, whether or not the tables get table pads, the type of chair being used, the types and sizes of the tablecloths being used, all of the equipment that will be set up on the tables. We will go into this section in greater detail later in the training video, and any special notes about the guest seating tables. Your diagram tells you the location of each table, as well as the table number. You can see the arrow is pointing to table number 10. And the number of guests sitting at each table. You can see table number 10 has 8 guests. Once you've read your paperwork, the next step is to pop up all the tables and get them an approximate place in the dining room. As you pop up each table, you must lock the legs in place. A table can stand without the legs being locked, but all it takes is one bump and the table will fall. Improperly locked legs have been known to make big messes. Remember to lock the legs. Once all of the tables are popped and the legs are locked, place a felt pad over the top of each table. Ensure it covers the entire tabletop evenly with no bumps. Then, place the linen on each table. The seams of the linen always go lengthwise with the room. As you can see in the diagram, the room is longer left to right than it is up to down. So the seams go left to right. As you place the linen on the table, it should touch the ground on all sides. Take the time to walk all the way around to the table and make sure it comes to the ground on all sides. As you do this, gently tuck any excess linen under the table. Now we are about to start setting each table for the correct number of guests. But how do we make it so that each guest has an equal amount of space around the table? Start by using the diagram to determine how many guests are sitting at the table. You may recall table number 10 had 8 guests. Determine the head of the table. At a wedding, the head of the table would be the one facing the dance floor. If you are unsure, ask your supervisor where the head of the table will be. The tail is directly opposite the head of the table. For tables where you have an even number of guests at the table, place one guest at the head of the table. Then place one guest at the tail of the table. Then evenly space the other place settings around the table. For tables with odd guest counts, you will still start by setting one place at the head of the table. But at the tail of the table, you will place 2 place settings. This will make an upside-down Y if you connect the 3 settings. Then evenly space the remaining place settings around the table. Now that we understand guest spacing, it is time to go over what a place setting consists of. Read your setup sheet to determine what equipment is needed for each place setting. Each item is abbreviated so that all the information can fit into this section of your paperwork. A place setting consists of a base plate. In this case, it is a gold beaded charger. Entrée silverware, which is a dinner fork and dinner knife. These are abbreviated as capital DF and capital DK. Salad silverware, which is the salad fork and salad knife. These are abbreviated as lowercase sf and lowercase sk. Dessert silverware, which in this case is just a fork, it is abbreviated as lowercase df. Sometimes there is a dessert spoon as well. It would be abbreviated as lowercase ds. Next is the wine glass. It is abbreviated as APW, which stands for all-purpose wine. Then comes the water glass. It is abbreviated as APB, which stands for all-purpose beverage. And any other glassware. In this case, the paperwork calls for a champagne glass. Lastly, each place setting gets a dinner napkin and a menu card. Now that we know the components of a place setting, how do we go about setting it up? It starts with the base plate. It should go 1 finger width from the edge of the table. Then we place the entrée silverware. They should almost be touching the base plate. When you place them, they should be exactly straight up and down. Do this by placing both fork and knife simultaneously. This saves time and ensures that when you place the fork and knife, they're exactly straight up and down. Next, we place the salad silverware. They should be almost touching the entree silverware. They should be exactly straight up and down. And you should place both fork and knife simultaneously as you go around the table. Next, the dessert silverware goes on top of the base plate. If it is a dessert fork only, the fork prongs go on the left side. If it is a dessert fork and spoon, the fork goes on bottom and the prongs go on the right side. The spoon goes on top and faces the other way. Here's a little secret to remember this. If it is a dessert fork only, the forks are in love, and the prongs want to be close together. If it is dessert fork and spoon, the spoon is the other woman, and the forks are mad at each other, so the prongs are far away from each other. Next, the white wine glass goes directly above the knives. It should be almost touching the knives, but not quite. Next, the water glass goes slightly up and to the inside of the white wine glass. It should be almost touching the white wine glass, but not quite. Sometimes the paperwork calls for a red wine glass or a champagne glass or both. If the paperwork calls for a third glass, it goes to the right of the water glass, making a triangle. If the paperwork calls for a fourth glass, it goes on top, making a diamond shape with the glasses. Lastly, the napkin and menu either go on the center of the base plate or lay on top of the forks. The paperwork will indicate where they are to be placed. The paperwork will also tell you everything that will go in the center of the table. This may include salt and pepper sets, butter ramekins, votives, flowers, table numbers and stands, and place cards. When placing salt and pepper, the pepper always goes to the left. This is for blind people, as the shakers are often feel identical. Pepper always on the left means a blind person will get the seasoning they expect and desire. The last thing that is placed at each table is the chairs. They should come right to the edge of the table, and the feet of the chairs should never be on the linen. We have gone through this video as if you are setting up one table. In reality, we are almost always setting up lots of dining room tables. To accomplish this, we go through each step for all the tables, then move to the next step. But we do it in staggered waves. As an example, we will use the diagram from earlier that needed 10 tables set up. We will start by setting up all the tables and ensuring all the legs are locked. Then get pads and linens on all the tables. Then we will start to set base plates around each table. As we do this, we take into consideration how many guests are sitting at each table and make sure we have the correct spacing for each guest. We'll start setting up base plates on the left and move to the right. This is where the waves come in. Once most of the room has base plates, half of the staff will break off from base plates and begin setting entree silverware. The other half will finish setting the base plates. As the remaining half finishes the base plates, they will start again at the beginning with salad silverware. As the entree silverware team finishes, they will start again at the beginning with dessert silverware, and so on. Why do we do it this way? By doing it this way, if we are short anything for any reason, the last table is the only one that ends up missing. Instead of one table missing 2 forks and a different table missing 2 glasses, anything that is missing will all be at the end table. Thank you for watching our training video on setting up dining room tables. Take this knowledge with you and have a great time at our events.